Apparently men don't talk about their issues and people question why male suicide is so high. And I'll tell you why it's so high. Because it's misogynistic to be suicidal as a man. That is right. They'll speak out and it'll be misogynistic. Nobody will give a shit about them until they're dead. If they speak out, it is misogynistic. Obviously we know about men losing half their money during marriage and all their kids, but let's not forget, he doesn't just lose half of his money, he loses a lot of his money due to inflation as well. Men go through so much shit working the crappiest jobs just for their wife and kids, for them to fuck off. But there's a lot of young male suicide as well. I mean, let's talk about the inconsistencies in the world. I mean, we're constantly talking about girl power and all this virtue signalling and all that, talking about how men are perverts all the time. I mean, I went to Manchester, there was an advert, don't be a creep. It's aimed at guys. Girls are apparently just as strong or stronger than men and are heroes for hitting men. But the other way around, if the guy hits the girl, he's a bitch and a horrible person. But if I beat up someone who's strong, like Conor McGregor, that doesn't make me a bitch. If I beat up Conor McGregor in a fight, I'm the hero in my town, because he's strong, and if you beat up someone strong, you're not a bitch. And here's me thinking women are strong because of these adverts. If I beat up a child, I'm a bitch because they're weak. So you're not allowed to hit women, but you're not allowed to say why you can't hit women. You're allowed to hit men because they're men. Is that the only reason? The reason why you can't hit women is because they're weak. Like, what reasons is there other than that? I mean, because they could cry. More men kill themselves than women. They're clearly fucking emotional as well. But trust me, I don't think men should be sad. I think it's actually a little bit pathetic for men to be sad. I think men should be warriors, okay? But yeah, it doesn't sound like these women have strength unless it fits their fantasy narrative. I mean, girl power, but don't hit girls. Let's not forget that attacking men can lead to the inability to have kids if they're hit in the wrong place. Or what if they never walk again? Is that just banter in that fight? Ah, it's just a joke that. No, you got hit in the balls, hey. Or she got hit in the stomach. So a man will go through his relationship, paying for all his women's drinks on nights out and attacking people who try to hurt her, making sure she has a terrific life, pretending to give a shit when she's out shopping or speaking about fuck knows what. But maybe we slipped up 7 months ago and said something that isn't even bad and they just will not stop bringing it up. I mean, the guy never has a go at their lass, ever. Barely ever. And look, relationships dry out, one of them cheat. I mean, no lass has ever made me finish ever. I personally have to fake fucking everything, like, and that's every encounter I've ever had. And yet they gossip to everyone like fuck about every fucking private encounter they've ever had with anyone. They're always gossiping and lying, honestly. I mean, most lads just want love, but most girls that we can find are either whores that are on a new dick every night or some gruesome fat annoying lass who's always talking about what their icks are. Obviously, our icks, which is a word I hate, our icks are fat, annoying, lazy, stinky girls, but that's misogynistic. But here, fuck all those men that are under 10 foot, little gremlins. How can you be under 5'10"? I mean, we're constantly listening to their crap stories and being polite by pretending to be engaged and care. Same with when, like I say, when they're out shopping, we pretend to care. But then when we get home, after a couple of months in the relationship, you get nothing but grief every day. Like, on the phone, you check it, it's your fucking lass who's having a go at you. Like, shut up, I've done nothing wrong. We never have a go at you. We pretend to care. Can you not do the same? Apparently it's controlling and coercive to stop your lass from going out. 100% stop your lass from going out. Do you want her to be around all that dick? Yeah, she can go out because she's a woman, she's independent, whatever. My brother personally went out on his birthday and his girlfriend would not stop yapping onto him on the phone. Like, that bitch needs a slap, man. It was his birthday and he even asked her if she wanted to come out. I mean, they go out, we can go out. But I don't think they should. They can't fucking be trusted on nights out. One thing I don't get is lasses who are in a relationship and they tell their lad about how they've cheated in their past relationships. That just fills you with hope, doesn't it? Another thing, they're not funny in the slightest but seem to find great offence in our jokes no matter what. That's the hardest part of the relationship, playing up to their little fantasy of pretending that they're funny, interesting and also good in bed. I keep on seeing these jokes about lads having enough hickeys and now they deserve to get black eyes off their chick so that everyone else knows she doesn't mess around. The real men aren't offended by this, but all that comes to our mind is if we told that joke about them, it would be hate speech and we'd be in a cell. I mean, you were probably offended about a minute ago when I said that bitch deserves a slap. I can imagine a lot of men are probably scared to be in a room with women with no cameras, because at some random point in time in the future, 30 years whatever, she could say anything happened, even if all you did was watch TV. Some girls as well, they offer nothing but sex, but get surprised when all we want is that from them. See, if you were offering a relationship or interesting points of view or you offer to take us somewhere, that's what we'd be interested in. If all you offer is sex, that's all we're going to care about. If you're a whore, you'll get treated like a whore. It's like Harrison Ford. Apparently he used to get annoyed when people came up to him and spoke about like Han Solo and Indiana Jones. themselves, it's like, you're gonna. Some of these lasses who are online sluts, they get annoyed when people speak about their bodies and stuff. It's like, it's what made you famous. It's why you are famous. Scrap that, no one knows who you are. But obviously lads kill themselves as teenagers, but they also do it when they grow up. Let's go through the modern marriage and why in the Western world I will never get married. A lad will settle for a lass that's not that good because our standards aren't that high. We don't pull that much anyway. They'll get married and then the romance will obviously die as any relationship ever. I mean, women have problems because they're all surrounded by yes men and yes women. They'll speak to their fake friends who tell them they deserve better all the time. And so they get divorced, a marriage that the man probably didn't want anyway, but the woman just really wanted them to propose. They'll make up a few stories about the lad. There's always a fucking story out there. And then the laws will be placed so that the guy can't see his kids. And then he will be kicked out of the house, all this stuff. I mean, my mum personally was an awful person. She tried to make up stories about my dad, which I knew for a fact weren't true. I was debunking all of them. I mean, she wanted all the kids against my dad, right? But I comforted him. I'd have done the same to my mum, but we fell out and I've not seen her in ages. I'd have comforted my mum if she was in the right, or even if she just wasn't in the wrong. And so when a man works a job that he hates for his entire life to pay for his wife and kids to have fun, and yet he loses his house, loses his kids, loses his wife, and has nobody to turn to, all of them now hate him, that means he's lost everything and is now depressed. So he assesses his options with his head in his hands and does what he sees the only option is, an option he takes no comfort in. All he does is regret his loyalty, and that is the only point anyone shows any kind of care towards him, because he's dead. As a man, I think about these things, and just to add the cherry on top of the cake, all he hears about everywhere is about respecting women on the TV, and all he thinks is that they can fuck off. He'll go on these dating websites and he doesn't see romance in the eyes. You fall in love with the eyes. All he'll see is hatred in the eyes. So many women say they hate men. Men think the same but aren't as loud with their opinions. And so, women can definitely improve, but is that misogynistic? Let's face it, right, misogynistic, misogyny, all this rubbish, it's not a word. As long as that's a word, male suicides will continue. Do you really think male suicides have absolutely nothing to do with women? Or is this just hate speech? Personally, I don't think men should get depressed ever. I think men should be warriors, and to be honest, I was going down a pretty woke path, and I've grown up and I've realised, holy shit, I'm pathetic. I'm fucking pathetic. I am a slave of the Western world. More and more men are going to kill themselves unless this message gets out there and is done.